Hi, it's Old Eyes here again. I thought today we'd have a look at a replica Sharps Carbine. This is a replica by I.A.B of the Sharps Carbine. Interesting gun, the Sharps Carbine. It's part of the transition, a very successful rifle, part of the transition period from muzzle loading to breech loading. This is in some ways a bit of a hybrid because this is still pre-brass cartridges, metal cartridges, but it's a folding block breech loading gun. So if we can see in here, the block goes up and down, which exposes the breech so you can put a cartridge in. Okay, still fired with a musket cap on a nipple, same way as any other percussion gun. They were in their time very popular, the carbines. I think they made 900,000 of them or something ridiculous. It was a huge number, yeah, very popular with cavalry and so forth, mainly in the US. Although that said, I think it was early 1850s, the British government bought 1,000 for the British Army, which I believe saw use in anger in the Indian mutinies. But there we go. That's I'm not really a great history buff. I just like playing with things. It's not a true copy. Most of the reproductions aren't. A lot are quite close. I mean, for instance, this one has a 28-inch barrel. If we look at the production of Sharps carbines, back in from the 1851 model all the way through to 1863, barrel lengths went from everything from 21.5 inches and grew slowly up to 22 inches. So with a 28-inch barrel, it's not exactly right, is it? Earlier models of Sharps had pellet primers. I think they used about 3 different systems on them, accumulating eventually with a pellet primer which fed a pellet on every time you cocked the hammer to save having to ferret around in your bag and put a musket cap on. And I think the 1859 and the 1863 models actually had a pellet primer which you could cut off. As with a lot of early breech loaders, biggest issue is getting a gas seal on the block. If you can imagine, you've got a sliding block that goes up and down in here. You can see the bottom of it coming out there, which pushes up against the face of the breech. So you've got to try and make an effective gas seal. I always find personally with this one, the first round I fire, we do get quite a lot of gas leakage. But as soon as we get onto the second and the third round, that seems to, as everything fouls up slightly, that seems to ease and get a little bit more controlled. As you can imagine, with gas leaking from the breech, getting consistency for target shooting is challenging, shall we say. It's never was designed for that. It was designed for a cavalryman at the end of the day, designed to shoot minutes of man, not minutes of angle. So there we go. The sights on these, the foresight is quite large on this particular one. Unfortunately, the I.A.B one isn't adjustable. The only way you can adjust it is for height, by filing it down. As it happens, this one has been pretty good. There's adjustment on the rear sight. This particular one's had a tang sight fitted to it. Not the best tang sight in the world, but it works. The original rear sight on it is got a very small V in it. So if the eyes aren't good, it's probably not the easiest of things to see. It does have a flip up ladder sight, graduated to 800 meters, probably a little bit, in fact more than a little bit optimistic, shall we say, for a carbine. That's probably a little bit easier to see though than in its knockdown state. You do get fouling on the block. After 20 or shots or so, it gets very stiff. So it's important to keep the blocks lubricated. It does come out very easily though. I have to show you how that happens. To remove the falling blocks, actually quite simple. It can be done in the field quite easily. Just put her on half cock just to clear the nipple. There's a little button here. Although not, you can actually see it. But we press the button down and slide this toggle round. We can then pull the pin out, and out comes the block. Let's put this gun somewhere safe. Now if we look at the block, let's put something down so I don't go all over my desk. You see on the face of the block is this plate, and when it's fired the gas pushes this plate forward to give a seal. Pardon me. So when it's fired, the gas pushes the plate forward to give a seal. So, but you'll feel when you get hold of it, the plate's actually quite stiff. You can't pull it out with your fingers. You need something just to give it a lift. Failure to prepare is to prepare to fail. But if we get something underneath it, probably if we put some glasses on so we can see first, it makes it easier. We can just slightly prise him. Work him off the face. So be careful not to damage anything while you're doing it. But he does come off. Getting there now. There we go. Off he comes. Everything fits quite tight in here. You can see it's important to keep this lubricated so it doesn't seize up. The channel for the spark coming from your cap on these is, as you can see, quite convoluted. It comes down from the nipple and has to go across and come out through this nipple here. A little bit of a long distance in a lot of ways. Good job black powder's so flammable, isn't it? Now to clean that, if we turn the block over, we see a screw on this side. So if we take that screw out, would have been wise to get the right screwdriver first, wouldn't it? But here we go. Let's wind him out. He's quite a long screw. Comes. It's just got a flat end on it, if we can see that. This gives us access to the flash channel so we can get it cleaned out. Well, to get the flash channel clean, of course we need to just finally take the nipple out. Well, to get in there, the best way of cleaning it out is a pipe cleaner. Just managed to, just fits perfectly down into there. You can see from that this channel goes down to there. And if you use the thinner end, there we go. It's all the way across the block. This is actually quite clean in here. It was clean last time it was shot. We can get down inside there. To get down inside where your nipple sits, it's a little bit finer, so we obviously need something a little smaller. So I'm just going to poke down, make sure it's clear. Obviously you have to clean the nipple through, make sure it's clear, and also just going to blow through this. Everything's clear. So let's put it back together. Tighten the nipple up, it's easier to do when the block's back in. Screw back. Remember where I put my screwdriver down, it would help, wouldn't it? Now, before the plate goes back on, it needs lubricating. So, as with everything, there's no right and there's no wrong thing to use. I use Ezox just because I do. I use it on all my black powder guns, so it's, I find it works for me. So one thing about the hobby is everybody you speak to seems to have different ideas on what to use for stuff, and at the end of the day, whatever works for you, doesn't it? So push him back in. And if we just make sure we got a little bit of lube on the edges. A lot of people use grease for these blocks. It's of assorted types. I've tried using copper slip, beeswax, my homemade lube I use for the bullets, all sorts. Nothing seems to make a huge amount of difference. Some have worked better than others. Like everything, trial and error. So, just wipe the fingers off before I pick the gun up, and we'll put him back in. Now, we can slide the block in. I was going to say quite simply, but trying to do it when you're not looking at it is always going to get more difficult. In he goes. And then we do the only just bit, you know, just push the pin in. You sometimes have to play around a little bit to get these to line up. So let's, there we go. Once the pin's in, spinning around, push the button, and he's home. All sorted. Interesting thing, say it's a 1979 model. Well, I suppose you'll ask yourself how I know that. Well, if we look on the side of the barrel, you'll see some proof marks. It doesn't happen in the US as far as I know, but every gun in the UK has to be proofed before it can be sold. So at some time in its life it has to have been proofed, gone through a proof house. Most of Europe's the same, and if we look at the marks on there, there's 3 marks. On the left hand side there's there's a square box with 2 letters in it. Now the A.E is actually the year, so that's the year it was proofed. So after it was manufactured, it was proofed. So A.E stands for 1979. A bit further along, well, in the centre there, you've got the mark, and that's the black powder proof mark with the PN. And that basically identifies the fact that it was proofed in either Gardon or Brescia, or whatever, how you pronounce it. I don't speak Italian. And the mark on the right hand side is like the provisional proof. All guns that go through that proof house will have that mark, and that's the mark for Brescia or whatever. I'm sure anyone who speaks Italian is cringing at my pronunciation. But anyway, that's how we find out its age. So there we have it. My 1863 I.A.B. Sharps. They're not a gun for the faint-hearted, shall we say. Of course, depending on what you want to do with them. I mean, if you just want to do some plinking, they are awesome fun. If you want to try and get the best out of them, they will challenge you. I can guarantee you that. I've been through so many options with this, with different loads and everything. It's unbelievable. But we are actually getting there. Well, I feel like we are. It's a great gun for a tinkerer. But still, there we go. I'll take it to the range soon. When I've finished making up some more cartridges, we'll take it to the range and I'll show you how it shoots. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.